Hello everyone, my name is Keke Li. I'm a graduate student from Beijing University in China. The paper I will be presenting today is titled The Empirical Study of Digital Inclusive Finance on Rural Green Economy Development. This article is divided into 5 parts: introduction, literature review, theoretical analysis and research hypothesis, indicator selection and empirical research, conclusion and enlightenment. Under the guidance of carbon peaking and carbon neutrality policy, the rural green development has attracted more attention. Agriculture is a pillar of rural economy, and agricultural activities are an important source of global greenhouse gas emissions due to the dual characteristics of carbon resource and carbon sinks. Agricultural ecosystems have also become a focus of attention. How to upgrade rural industrial and support green growth of rural regions and the guidance of rural revitalization policy is also a subject that deserves study. This paper examines the role of digital inclusive finance in rural green development from a perspective of green development, so as to help solve the problem in rural green development. Existing research shows that a lot of population groups are excluded from the service of formal financial institutions, while inclusive finance effectively increases the capital availability of poor population to achieve poverty elevation and income increase. 8% of the world's rural livelihoods are directly related to agriculture. However, the increasing production has caused greater pressure on the ecological environment, which needs more attention in a green development strategy. Green agriculture requires agricultural development to reduce the damage to the environment and biodiversity. To China's agricultural problems, it is necessary to carry out agricultural green transformation from a perspective of ecological civilization. Experts think that by increasing the effectiveness of agriculture fund allocation and distributing risks, digital inclusive finance improves rural economic development. The concept of green development is supported by digital inclusive finance, which also encourages the flow of resources to emerging environmental protection industries like ecological agriculture, secure agriculture, intelligent agriculture, creative agriculture, and others. The digital inclusive finance breaks the geographical restrictions, and the internet technology also changed the financial service mode. Traditionally, digital inclusive finance may provide the financial resources into a field of low carbon and green field, and supported the green growth of the rural economy when guided by green development policies. Based on the analysis presented above, this study puts forth hypothesis 1. Digital inclusive finance promotes the growth of rural green economy. China is a country with vast territory. The development of digital inclusive finance varies from region to region. At the same time, there are significant spatial differences in resource endowments and ecological environments in rural areas. So this study puts forth hypothesis 2. The influence of digital inclusive finance on rural green economy varies significantly by region. According to the strategic planning of rural revitalization, some scholars have studied rural green development from 5 dimensions: industrial prosperity, ecological livability, rural civilization, effective governance, and rich life. Considering the characteristics of rural development and highlighting the research focus on the rural green economy, this paper selects the measurement index system of rural revitalization and development level in China, constructed by Xu Longfei as an indicator of rural green development, as shown in Table 1. Table 1 shows the specific indicators for 5 dimensions. To explain the variable is the rural green economy level, which is replaced by rural green economy index above. The core explanatory variable is the digital financial inclusion index. Related control variables are urbanization rates, rural infrastructure construction, industrial restructuring, educational level. This paper chooses a fixed effect model for empirical research. Table 2 is descriptive statistics of variables. The benchmark regression results in Table 3 show that the core explanatory variable positively impacts the rural green economy at 1% statistical level. Hypothesis 1 is valid. With regard to the control variables, the urbanization rates and the industrial restructuring positively affect the rural green economy, which is obvious at 1% statistical level. The regressing results of the infrastructure construction shows that the growth of rural electricity consumption has a certain role in promoting rural green development. However, the relationship between the two is not obvious. It may be that the rural infrastructure needs other industries to work together. The educational level positively affects the rural green economy, which is obvious at 5% statistical level. To solve the endogeneity problem, this paper uses two-stage least squares estimation to correct the endogeneity problem of the model. Information transmission software and information technology service industrial investments are selected as instrumental variables. As shown in Table 4, the second stage regression results show that after considering the endogenous problem, digital inclusive finance still impacts the rural green economy, which declares that the above benchmark regression results are robust and consistent. In order to examine heterogeneity, the paper divides 30 provinces into eastern, western, control, and northeastern regions, and tests them according to the established model. The eastern region has a superior geographical location and developed economy. Digital inclusive finance has significantly promoted green development in rural areas. The results in the western region shows that the policy supported poverty alleviation in western region had improved the poverty situation in rural areas and promoted green development. The central and northeastern regions did not pass the test. The heterogeneity test shows hypothesis 2 is valid. Through empirical research, we can draw the following suggestions. Firstly, the rural green economy can be considerably aided by the use of digital inclusive finance. The assistance of funding and policies is essential to the development of rural areas. Secondly, there are significant geographical differences in the impact of digital inclusive finance on rural green economy, mainly due to differences in economic developments and resource policies between different regions. Based on the existing research and empirical analysis of this paper, the following suggestions are put forward. Local government should accelerate the construction of digital inclusive finance in state barriers and speed up the construction of digital villages. The government should encourage in-depth cooperation between technology companies and financial institutions, build agriculture-related data platforms, and facilitate the flow of financial resources to green areas. Digital inclusive finance needs to further use big data to analyze the financial needs in the process of agricultural development, formulate corresponding policies, and increase the support for agriculture. By lowering the threshold for digital inclusive finance, providing policy-based financing guarantees, increasing the discount rates for agricultural support, and increasing the credit limit for rural residents. The government should focus on the imbalance of rural development in China, so that high-level green development areas play a leading actor in innovation, to narrow the regional gap and promote the coordinated progress of digital inclusive finance among regions. The central and northeastern regions need to be concerned about promoting the flow of resource elements from regions. Further analysis of the transmission mechanism of digital inclusive finance is needed to inject vitality into the rural green economy. Thank you for your attention.